where they want to go. Some people probably don't make the right decisions. Some people do make the right decisions. I think the main issue is coaches. Sometimes inducing people to leave places, for the wrong reasons. We probably have dealt with a little bit of that from other places. But I care deeply about all of our guys, and I want them all to go where they're going to be happy. So I haven't had anybody express to me that they want to do that, but that'll come. Some kids will, at some point, whether it's not now or at some point, we'll look into that, and I'll always be there as a resource for them. But I'm not, I'm worried about spring practice.
Do you like the window that they're doing though, versus
I hadn't really. I mean, I don't spend a lot of time thinking about things like that because they don't ask me my opinion. If they ask me, I have a lot to say. Probably I would prefer it was after our spring ball, so that guys would have some time to really make a very serious conversation. Like we'll meet with every player on the team the week after spring ball and just talk about how everything went and give them a kind of an opportunity to speak on their front. So we'll try to have really good conversations. I don't want them to feel rushed, to do that. So, but if it was up to me, we'd be playing the spring game probably a week later. So, then I'd have that same issue. So I don't know, to be honest with you.
Did the guys come back with the intensity and retention that you wanted?
I have to watch the tape to see. The retention seemed like it was pretty good. We introduced some new situations, some new things. So kind of the challenge that I gave them last week of coming back this week, it seemed like a lot of guys. I didn't think there was a ton of missed assignments or anything. I've learned over the years, like not to judge practice based upon the way I feel out of practice, good or bad, right? So I like to watch the tape because, we're getting to the point now where so many guys are doing things right that when they do have maybe a bad play, it might just be one or two. So I'm anxious to see this tape though. This is big for us. Like we're kind of one of those teams that like throughout the course of the week build up and have really good Saturdays, and I want us to be a little faster starting. So just trying to get that done. So I had a team meeting today, which I normally don't do, just to kind of challenge them a little bit. So if it wasn't what I wanted, I have only myself to blame. So we'll see how the tape looks.
We're going to talk to Garrett McGuire today. How would you evaluate his first stint as a position coach for you?
I think it's been great. I mean, I think unfairly I don't know if it's unfairly, but he's had a lot of people question, him, right? Which really honestly hurts us in recruiting. We're out there recruiting and people are following us and they're like, well, I keep hearing this narrative. It's coming from our own people. I'm like, so we have to battle that a little bit. But, I always look at things in my life at like what I want my son to play for him, and I'd want my son to play for Garrett. I don't know if you guys probably don't see the second half of practice, do you? Like we do team outside and they throw 7-on-7 inside. He runs the whole passing game. Like he knows the quarterbacks, progressions, running backs, tight ends, receivers. So I think I think the receivers are one of our stronger groups are coming on, and I think he's done a really good job. So I think as he starts to churn out NFL prospects, the top recruits in the country will realize that if they play for Garrett, they're not going to just get someone who's a hype guy. They're going to get a really good coach who's also going to care about them off the field.
Matt, what's Isaiah shown you so far this spring?
He's really, really, really dependable. He's talented, good hands, gets in and out of his breaks. But the biggest thing we're trying to express to this team is, dependability is one of the greatest traits you can have as a teammate and as a member of the team. Like if I know that you're going to be where you're supposed to be and do what you're supposed to do, and Isaiah's a guy, especially with his story, transferring in and then leaving the team, it leaves a lot of questions in terms of, hey, what happened? I've never really delved into it with him. I try to give everyone a blank slate. I think he's been awesome. I think he's a guy that can really help us this fall.
Xavier looked like a guy who missed football last year. I mean, just as far as his on the field, like how he moves and stuff, or did he kind of jump right back into that part?
I don't know. I never saw him before, so it's hard for me to detail that. I think Xavier's very talented. I think it's just about sort of the same thing, like just the day-to-day grind. We have a couple messages we're trying to get across to the guys. Dependability being one. Just that competitive stamina of doing it day after day after day. But Xavier is straining himself off the field in the classroom at a level he's never done before, and that takes time. That takes a toll on you. And I'm very proud of Xavier for what he's doing off the field. But his talent's recognizable. It's just how much can we hone that in.
You of course, knew a lot about Garrett from your experience with him as a player and as kind of a secondary type assistant coach. But what have you seen or how have you felt about his ability to be in charge of a position and manage personalities, and especially a group like these receivers where there's been so much turnover and change in this offseason?
I never really had any doubt. My only question was whether he would leave the NFL or not. the NFL's different, right? Like you might think that they're a secondary coach, but they run so much, right? They run so much of practice, and I think if you talk to like DJ Moore or one of those guys, those guys making $18 million a year, they would stand on the table for Garrett. And I think the thing I get to see is like he would coach those guys hard. Just because a guy makes a ton of money, a lot of guys are afraid to coach him, like not Garrett. And so, he was blessed in his career, other than take away all the things he learned from his father, which is awesome, right? But he was with us with Coach Nixon as our offensive coordinator, learned that offense, sort of the Chip Kelly system derivative. Came in, had a new offensive coordinator with Dave Aranda, went through that process. Came in with me to Carolina, worked under Joe Brady, who at LSU, what he did was dynamic, and then sort of the West Coast under Ben McAdoo. So in 6 years of his life, he's been a part of 4 offenses. And so I think his X's and O's knowledge is great. But I had no concern about his ability to relate to and work with players, because I saw him working with NFL guys on a level beyond just, hey, here's the card. I mean, he was doing things with them that, I wish all of our coaches could do.
See a pretty direct reflection of Joey. I mean, you mentioned this, but from a person-to-person level, you see a lot of Joey and Garrett.
Yeah, I see a lot of Joey. I see a lot of Debbie, his wife. They're awesome people. When he took the Texas Tech job, I was literally talking to everybody in the country. I think he's one of the best head coaches I've ever been around, and so there was no doubt in my mind from the day I met Joey McGuire he'd be a great dynamic head coach. I think the thing that Garrett has a little bit of, Joey's boisterous and all that, but Garrett has an edge to him too. I mean, he's worked for some tough guys, right? He's worked for some really tough guys, and so I think he brings that element as well, which I think you need in college, right? You need someone who can sometimes be your friend, but you also need guys who can make sure you're going to class and doing all that. And I think that's where Garrett, that's what makes him special.
How are you guys tackling? How do you feel like you tackled so far in camp?
It's a great question. We don't have a ton of live interactions. I feel like it's getting better. We didn't tackle today. It was all thud. I think we're thudding better, but really this Saturday will be interesting. The way we teach it is a kind of like a little bit of it's a break from some of the things that they've learned in terms of, we always are tracking their hip. We don't have guys running over the top, and so that's a departure from the way maybe they've played. And so we still sometimes struggle with our angles, but I think we're very willing to tackle. Let me say that. Like we're not a soft team. This Saturday I'll probably have a better answer because we're going to line up and play in the scrimmage and play a ton of plays and see how they tackle. But I think our tackling is getting better. It's a really good question.
There's multiple philosophies now on how to do this. Nebraska's kind of done the tour here in the last 5 years before you got here. So they were with Adamus for a while, and they changed it, and they changed it again, and they changed it again. What is maybe your philosophy on how to teach tackling, and what do you think they had been learning prior to getting?
Oh, I don't know what they learned before, and I never suppose. So I was taught one way of tackling, which I believed in for a long time, and as we've removed the head from tackling, so I was always taught to tackle with your chest and have your neck bold, right? And so we were taught to tackle like this, right? And so as the neck's been removed, which it should be, right? We're trying to remove the head from the head injuries and all that. While those numbers maybe have gone down, the amount of labrum, everyone has a labrum tear now, right? They don't wear the pads. Remember the pads I used to wear and you used to wear? Like now they're like this, and now we hit with our shoulders all the time. So we've utilized Atavis over the years. But I think any outside tool to me is always a piece, right? Like we have our own philosophy of what we do. But I think our guys are buying into it. We try to be very consistent. When you guys are at practice, you see we always do that fundamental circuit to start, so they're getting the same muscle memory every day. But we are not like a hawk tackle low team. We're going to strike and tackle people high and try to knock people back. And there'll be times where we'll hit low if we have to, but we're not looking for that.
Have you seen, has Ben Scott been working back, saw him in the green jersey today?
Just doing drills. Yeah, he just has kind of a repetitive MCL. Had it but once before, had it now, so I'm not in a rush to force him out there, and we're getting really good work. You've heard me say, I think before, Justin Evans-Jenkins is doing a really good job for us.
How about AJ?
Yeah, I would anticipate AJ practice some today, non-contact. I expect he would practice on Thursday full. I'm hoping he does.
We've seen a lot of your 2023 signings here at practice. Why is it important to get those guys back here, not just prospective guys?
I think the minute they sign with us, they have to get they have to get to the unrecruiting, not de-recruited, but they've got to get to the point of now I'm here, right? I see Garrett Nelson working out, and I'm always like, hey, make sure you're in shape now. That rookie minicamp comes around, so I think once you go through that process of being recruited, picking your school, now it's about, hey, I want to get there and play. And so coming in and seeing the way that we practice, seeing the things that we do, I think it's good for recruits, it's good for parents, it's good for our players. When they show up eyes wide open. They're not intimidated maybe by hey, what's going to happen tomorrow. They kind of have a feel in their mind of what practice will look like.
Matt, how do you feel like your quarterbacks have improved since the start of spring camp?
Well, they've gotten a lot better. They've done a really nice job. That scrimmage, that Saturday live scrimmage, really helped them, I think. And since then, we mixed the live day in last week where they were live down the red zone. But I think that's really helping our quarterbacks. And just the repetition of again, when you're trying to get 4 quarterbacks ready, that's tough. So the repetition and the way we're practicing, always having at least 2, sometimes 3 drills going at once, to kind of the blueprint that Coach Osborne laid out. We're trying to maximize that so that they're getting a ton of reps.
Would you be able to think about the format for the spring game? You had to delve into that?
Yeah, it's just going to come down to numbers. I mean, if we're planning on playing a game, I'd like to play a game, and have it be competitive. That's kind of, I've done a couple years where I had to do like offense versus defense, but even that I've tried to make competitive. But my goal is for it to be a competition and just to play it out.
Do you foresee the quarterbacks being live there at all in the spring game?
I would hope so. I mean, that's my plan. I mean, if they're live on Thursdays, they should certainly want to be live, I think, in the spring game. But we'll have to wait and see. You never know. Guy gets a hip or something. Maybe I don't want him to be live. I don't want to box myself into a corner because I always want to do what's right for the team, not what's popular. But I would like to see them play live. I think quarterbacks play way better when they're live, to be quite honest.
Other than Isaiah, which receivers are emerging for you? Which ones do you think are doing a good job?
I think they're all doing a really good job. I think 2 guys that we don't talk about enough are Alex Bullock and Ty Hahn. Bullock he was out for a little bit with a knee, but really, really, really explosive player. Makes a ton of plays. Ty's done a really, really nice job as well. Billy is an established player. He's had a really good camp. I've started the process now, cutting back his reps. So he's still out there working every day, but I've cut back his reps a little bit, just trying to get some other guys. Fleeks was out for a while. Josh is back. Really trying to get Josh up and running right now so that he's taken off. Obviously Marcus played a lot of football. Xavier's, trying to get him going again. But I think the group's a good group, and we got guys that. We got guys that can fill in and play a lot of different positions. We need a Z, we need an X, we need a slot. Roman Mangini can just run right in there, man. He's going to get reps. So that I don't ever want to undermine that. People talk about receivers sometimes. It's from the recruiting process on. It's like I'm an X receiver, and then they get to the NFL, and it's like I better be able to know all 3 positions and play special teams. So we're trying to build that culture so that they have a chance to make it. How many talented receivers over the years have you guys seen leave and go off to the NFL and just never quite have a great career because they don't understand that receiver in the NFL is about 2 guys, and then after that it's you're a special teams player or you're really smart. So we're trying to build that into our guys right now, and so having guys like that buy into that are good. So I like the group. I just we'll be counting on some of those guys we're bringing in, the young kids. They're going to have to help us with a flash here or there. But I do like the group.
All good.
All right, guys.